would recommend everyone listens to the OCD stories that came out on Sunday, because that's my client Jack told his story, and he's a really good example of someone who has been very, very disciplined in his practice. So he probably has not missed a day since we began working together about 18 months ago. I don't think he has missed a day of practice. He has worked hard on his ACT skills. He's worked hard on his ERP, imaginal ERP, life-based ERP. He dropped all his physical compulsions right away, and has worked very, very hard. Now, he's not at the end of his recovery journey. We're still fine-tuning bits of it, but he's doing well. You know, if you saw him when he came into therapy, and you'll hear it in the story, and you see where he is now, there's been a big shift. And the reason I want to emphasize this is it's the hard work, you know, and the commitment to it that has produced that result. And he'd had OCD for 30 years. Yeah, he's turned it around with, you know, really getting on board with this approach to ERP and skills. So I think it'll give you hopefully a bit of inspiration and a sense of what we're trying to do really. Now, the way he's approached it, that is the exception, not the rule. So most clients I work with are not like that. You know, most people I work with might practice, there's some people who struggle with practice the whole way through, and actually most of the stuff they're doing might be with me in session, and then gradually over time they might do a little bit more, or at least they're doing it in the moment outside. Then there's another group of people that will work hard when things are bad, and then symptoms improve and the practice drops off and they stop challenging it, and then it comes back. And, you know, there's a bit of a seesaw thing, like the motivation's there when they're struggling, but not when they're feeling better. And then there's other people that will get a good run and then fall off, and then recommit, get a good run, and then fall off. But, you know, most people I work with struggle with home practice. I mean, and I wanted to just say a little bit more about that and then hear your thoughts on it. So I think people struggle because it is like physical exercise. Like, we all know we should do some kind of physical exercise, but it's hard to motivate yourself. Humans are inherently lazy. I don't really like the use of the word lazy, but we like to conserve energy. And that's physically, but it's also learning. Our brain takes a lot of energy to learn things, to face difficult things. And so there's an element where we're tempted to conserve energy. Another element is avoidance. We don't want to face the difficult stuff, especially if it's kind of okay. I don't want to poke the hornet's nest. So I stay away from it because it's scary to face it. And even just doing skills can be scary because I'm sitting with my mind in silence and it's generating difficulty. You might be trying to keep your powder dry. So it's the idea that, like, I like the sound of this ACT ERP stuff, but what if it doesn't work? So I'd rather keep it over there as something that might work, and at least I've got some hope there. But of course, it means we never try it, and it's, you know, we can never use it. Practice, I mean, we might have busy lives and genuine, I mean, you can always find time, because just look at your phone tracking how many hours you're on your phone for, and we all know you can find 20 minutes a day to practice. If we can find, you know, an hour to 6 hours or whatever that people average on screens and phones, well, we can find 20 minutes. But in theory, we could be busy with a family, with work, with lots of responsibilities, and that might make it feel harder. So that would be good to do the targeted stuff as well. I think you want to do both. The best scenario is in the moment, response to triggers, and targeted practice, and you want to do both. And the bit you kind of caught it there, right? You said, and I check, is it working? Or you said something like that, and like, how do I feel? And that's the bit we need. That would be like a secondary spike, really, of like analyzing, is it working? So that we want to diffuse. But to be honest, like when I was working on recovery, I did have to work all day, many days doing it, you know, and sometimes I would be overdoing it and there'd be a bit of avoidance agenda in it, and I was trying to control it, and then I go, no, right, come back to acceptance, come back to allowing this stuff to be there. right? Practice skills. But to be honest, I think what I learned the most through was just tough days of having to do it all day long. And it got easier, and when I really got that, it shifted quickly and it felt different quickly. But I do think um, the ability to know you can do a day with your mind just going intrusive, 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 big feeling, big feeling, big feeling, big feeling, intrusive, intrusive. To know you can do that and just diffuse, refocus. That is really critical to recovery. I think. I mean, that's how I learned a lot. Um, think also the belief that the day is messed up already and it's pointless to try to save it and you just have to wait for tomorrow. Yes, that's a really good point. That is something I see, and that happens in behavior change generally, like when people are trying to change what they're eating, or reduce alcohol or something. They kind of, oh, I've had one drink, oh, I may as well just have a few, and or I may as well eat as much as I want and then try again tomorrow. So yeah, the problem is we get a dopamine hit thinking about the future. So we get a dopamine hit imagining change, and then that can be quite addictive. So I think, oh, tomorrow I'll do it really well, and that becomes a bit of an issue. So yeah, I think they're both really good examples. Yeah, I think the antidotes for this stuff. The antidotes are really small steps. Carve it up, make it a smaller goal. If it's too hard to do, the full practice, well, let's do 5 minutes. 5 minutes still counts, and let's do regular 2-minute practice throughout the day. Um, Set a very small, achievable goal. Working with the resistance. So sometimes people do just forget as well. So put a reminder in your phone, put notes on the walls, find some way of helping you to remember. And then when you get the thought, oh, I should practice, and then your mind tries to talk you out of it, start urge surfing at that moment and you're practicing. So catch what your mind's saying. Oh, I don't have time, or it'll be too difficult, or I need to do this, or later, I'll do it later. Okay, diffusion, heavy, tired, feeling that's like avoid it. Okay, accept that, refocus, engage in what I'm doing, and try to practice. So you start urge surfing that. Workability and motivation reflection, really use that. Like, if I don't practice, I don't give this a good shot. This is a skill-based approach. It will work better if I put the time in. I've got nothing to lose. If it doesn't work, there's still other options. I can try other approaches. There are other things out there. Or it's just that I need to give it longer and I need to, put more practice in. So it's going to be more workable to do that. Remember why, remember, what it's in service of, and just using the skills with that resistance really is the key. Take in the wins, savor. Oh, I practiced today. Great. Well done. Oh, I did my ERP today. Well done. Brilliant. Try to savor that sense of empowerment and action. Um, and be self-compassionate. Slip and recommit. If I slip, let's get back on it. Next day, get back on it. Sometimes you have to slip and recommit many times. It takes a while to establish a habit. So yeah, just do it in a compassionate way. Yeah, people would imagine they're the only one not practicing. Actually, most people I work with, I'm trying to get them to practice, and it's hard. If it was easy, you probably wouldn't be in therapy.